I love how Netanyahu has the audacity to condemn the violence on college campuses. I mean, this
Didn't he
Hitlerian
call y'all
fascist is murdering
terrorists?
people as
Did
we
he call
speak.
students like Nazis and terrorists? He said this is the same
Yeah.
as like the rise of Germany and Hitler, and then these are also Hamas. They're part of Hamas.
Was he
as
looking
well,
at a
so.
mirror as he was saying this shit? Fucking idiot.
Yeah, it's just,
How
it's
many
so
people they
outrageous.
fucking killed?
The gaslighting is what I think is making me feel like I'm going crazy, right? Because this is one of
Yeah.
those times where you have Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, all of media, they're all saying the same thing. They're all smearing these student protesters. And it's just nobody's talking to the protesters. To be fair, there were a couple of MSNBC pundits who actually brought on some of the students at Columbia University and spoke to them and asked them what their goal was here. And, you know, when you talk to them, it kind of dispels this myth that these are like rabid anti-Semites. Because Ursa, I can't remember her last name. It's Ilhan Omar's daughter. She was talking about how they were doing like interfaith, you know, prayers on her campus with Jewish students and Arab
Well,
students.
they're also being organized by Jewish students too, right?
Yeah, but
There's
they're all
that.
anti-Semites.
Right.
All of them.
Isra Hersey, that's her name.
Isra Hersey, thank you. Yeah, she's great. Yeah, and then yesterday the news broke that the pigs came through and they started to violently shut down the protests. And as is always the case, you know, these protests, they're peaceful, and then the cops get there, they antagonize, and then things start to get violent. And it's oftentimes the cops who instigate the violence, if not always. So it's so frustrating because, you know, all the same people who talk about, you know, oh, free speech this, free speech that, they're the ones calling for this to be shut down. Like there was a tweet that Mehdi Hassan had shared of Governor Greg Abbott saying how important free speech is on college campuses. And here he is sending in state troopers to shut that shit down. And everyone's just cool. Like the media's like, well, you know, they're anti-Semitic, so fuck them. There's just no principle. It's so frustrating. Like it makes me want to scream because it's like they're lying to us, but like they're not even trying to convince us. Like it's so Orwellian and they're not even trying. The propaganda is just bad, but they're still doing it and they think that we're stupid. There is the video. I don't remember which university this was on, but this guy posted this tweet like, my wife is so brave. She went to those anti-Semitic protests and she was wearing just a blank shirt and she wrote Jew on the front and she wrote like Israel on the back. And she's just standing there looking really angry. And like everybody,
and literally
like,
nobody cared.
No.
Nobody
stand behind a giant flag that said like Jews for Palestine, you know, like right behind it.
Which was just the cherry on top.
Like a lot of these human rights groups they're led by Jewish people. Like this thing they're trying to invent where like criticizing a government is somehow being anti-Semitic. How are we still still having to discuss this so many months into this bullshit? Like, don't people understand by now you can criticize a state for their actions and that doesn't mean you hate all of its people? Like, it's so absurd.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the same leader of that state right now, Benjamon Netanyahu, is calling the students who are protesting terrorists and said this was akin to the rise of Nazi Germany. And I'm like, that's pretty fucked up, right? To say about students, I would assume, you know, or where's the America? How dare you say that about me feeling sentiment? Americans, come on, get more riled up about it.
They're all saying it too. Alison Camerota. No, not Alison Camerota. There was a different CNN host who said that, like, you know, this is like a canary in a coal mine. Like these students, the anti-Semitism that we're seeing, I'm paraphrasing, of course, this is like a sign of the downfall of democracy. It's like, okay, you have actual Nazis in this country on the rise now, the proliferation of white supremacy and like actual anti-Semitism. It's proliferating and you're focusing on these students. Like the actual Nazis must be so happy right now, right? It's like whenever... Sorry,
to your point. Well, to your point, Mike. I don't know if you remember this, but Greg Abbott is one of the people who's like proposing to send in the National Guard right now, or something even more extreme than that. So, from December 2nd, 2023, Texas GOP Executive Committee rejects proposed ban on associating with Nazi sympathizers and Holocaust deniers because it might be a quote slippery slope or too vague. Yeah, so definitely really care about those Nazis. Care about the Nazis. Yeah,
anti-Semitism is definitely bad.
Yeah, don't pass a law that doesn't allow you to associate with anti-Semites. You know, because that could be a slippery slope. Who knows? There could be a good anti-Semite amongst them. You got to wait, right?
They don't want to actually hurt their own voters, right?
Yes.
That's their constituents. Exactly. So
want to alienate your base. Come on.
Yeah, it reminds me of like whenever, and I made this point in a recent video, whenever the right accuses LGBTQ plus people of being groomers and child predators, the actual pedophiles must be super happy about that, because like it's distracting away from them, and everyone's looking at innocent people. And the same is true here, right? Like the Nazis are able to just like breeze by when these students are getting demonized. And that's what makes it so dangerous, is that anti-Semitism is on the rise. Like it's an actual problem. And all these claims of, criticizing Israel as anti-Semitic, like that just minimizes actual anti-Semitism, and the way that the Holocaust has been minimized as well in the midst of this. It really is so disturbing, because like these people are so disingenuous, and it's just the ends justify the means, right? Like defend Israel no matter what, distract, deflect. It's just so frustrating.
Nazis are not chanting from the river to the sea. They're chanting, Jews will not replace us. That's what Nazis are chanting. That's the Nazi chant, It's
but
very
this is the
clear.
Same, according to John Fetterman, a Fox News host, Eve Fartlow. They're all saying this is like Charlottesville. It's the brainworms is just out of control in these people. I feel like I can't believe that they believe their own bullshit, right? Like there's no like they're being
it's hard to believe
disingenuous.
It's hard to believe they're that fucking stupid. Like they're a lot of them are being paid. We know Fetterman has received a shit ton of money from groups aligned with the right-wing Israeli government. So it's I'm sure a lot of it is born from that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not cutting out, am I? Somebody says they keep losing me. It might be your internet if it's...
No.
You sound good to me.
Okay.
There was also this piece in... Let me bring this up. In Zateo.
Oh, right.
I'm a Jewish student at Columbia. Don't believe what you're being told about campus anti-Semitism. So, I mean, it's a great piece worth reading, but this paragraph really helps to summarize his thoughts here. Here's what you're not being told. The most pressing threats to our safety as Jewish students do not come from tents on campus. Instead, they come from the Columbia administration inviting police into campus, certain faculty members, and third-party organizations that dox undergraduates. Frankly, I regret the fact that writing to confirm the safety of Jewish Ivy League students feels justified in the first place. I have not seen many pundits hand-wringing over the safety of my Palestinian colleagues, mourning the deaths of family members or the destruction of Gaza's cherished universities. So this is, the entire narrative, the entire week from, all media organizations, whether it's, MSNBC or Fox News, has been, Jewish students are they're being targeted, they're at risk because of these protests against the Israeli government. No, Jewish students are just as much a part of these protests as anybody else. But what they're at risk of is being, having their head bashed by police. Like the fact that the faculty, or not faculty, the who runs the universities, that they called the police like immediately to crack down on this shit is really disturbing. And we're also not seeing a lot of coverage on stuff like this. Massive faculty walk out of Columbia opposing the university's decision to call in the NYPD on Palestine solidarity protests. So faculty coming out in support with the students. And again, the narrative being pushed out is, these students they're so disruptive, destructive, threatening. Faculty is right there along with them because, again, it's all bullshit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There was also Peter Beinart made a really good point. He said that whenever he goes to college campuses, he usually asks them, what percentage of students here are Jewish? And he says that a lot of them are overrepresented in these crowds. Like in many instances, they're leading the charge, and they're the ones getting penalized. So Jewish Voice for Peace, I didn't know this. It was actually banned at Columbia University. Why would you ban that group? And why is nobody saying that that's anti-Semitic? You know what I mean? Like the one Jewish pro-Palestinian group gets banned.
Yeah, I also just heard about that this week. That apparently happened like months ago. Again, if these media organizations actually cared about anti-Semitism on college campuses, that would have been a massive story. Mm-hmm. But it's not a massive story because it's perfectly in line with how they feel about Israel. But once you challenge the state of Israel and challenge what they are doing, that's when it becomes a problem.
Right. Yeah. I will say, though, that this is all kind of having a bit of a Streisand effect in the sense that more people are learning about the protests. Students across the country are now joining in on college campuses. And I think that the more that they try to crack down on these protests, the more blowback that they're going to receive, and they're just going to continue to grow because this is turning into an actual full-fledged movement on college campuses. It probably already is that. And that's really encouraging to see because, you know, when you're faced with police brutality and repression and suspension, you know, there's a disincentive there, right? You know, in your own self-interest, it would behoove you to not do that. But these students are putting their necks on the line because they just care. And yet we have people like, I think it was the Wall Street Journal, I don't remember who wrote it, saying like, oh, are these protesters, they're funded by Hamas or Iran and Hezbollah. It's just they can't fathom the fact that people just genuinely don't want to see their country commit a genocide. Yeah, exactly, Lance.
And like and it's not just like that's the reaction. It's also like the gaslighting on top of that all. Like the idea that young people, the most progressive generation, all of a sudden just full of anti-Semites. What are they saying that's anti-Semitic? Oh, they're waving the Palestinian flag. Oh, they're
watermelon stickers.
They got watermelon stickers or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They're wearing a keffiyeh.
Yep.
They're saying to stop killing children in Gaza.
Stop starving them too.
I can't.
They're anti-Zionist, which means anti-Jewish person. They're anti-Israel, which means anti-Semitic. That was an argument that somebody actually made on MSNBC. He said, and by anti-Israel, they really, we really mean anti-Jew because that's what they are.
And I saw that too, putting words in their mouth. Like, no, that's clearly two very different things.
Yeah.
You just have to conflate the, and of course, no pushback, right? Like, just goes on to say what he wants.
Like these are the very serious people, right? These are the TV pundits, the talking heads. These are the serious people that get invited on these shows over and over and over and over and over again. And it's not even like, you know, at the very, like we were talking shit about Piers Morgan before. At least Piers Morgan, at least in order to get his clickbait, he brings on people who are pro-Palestinian. So at least there's a voice on that. I'm not heralding Piers Morgan, but I'm saying Piers Morgan is bottom of the barrel. Yet even he does that.
Yeah, he's closer to reality than the big. But
we're supposed to take
networks.
CNN and MSNBC and the New York Times and all these outlets that have on all these very important, very serious people, the David Frums. The same people over and over and over again. The head of the ADL, what's his face? Greenblatt.
Yeah.
Over and over. These are the very serious people. They're the very serious people. He was on MSNBC earlier today on Joe Biden's favorite show, Morning Joe, saying that Jewish Voice for Peace is actually the campus wing of Hezbollah.
What? That sounds like literal defamation.
Like, hold on. I want to see this on video.
No, I gotta see.
I think I saw part of the quote. Now I rolled my eyes. Oh man, I gotta find it.
Just to emphasize, this is what the head of the Anti-Defamation League said. Just so we're correct,
wild.
Right?
That's wild.
Yes.
They're actually
it's only
doing
defamation when it's anti-Israel.
Okay. Right.
Here you go. I just dropped it in the.
Okay, here I'll pull it up.
Wow. Okay. It's one of those things where I keep being told that all of this is anti-Semitic to attend these rallies that are run by Jewish people. You know, these rallies organized by Jewish students, Jewish protesters, Jewish activists, like that massive one, not in our name, that was just recently thrown together that people were like getting arrested at. Again, anti-Semitic, apparently. Deeply anti-Semitic.
So about time that the presidents and the campus administrators across the country started again simply saying, you got to play by the rules. I mean, talk about the height of entitlement, right? Thinking that you can just act with impunity wherever you want. You know, it's funny. We're talking about Iran a few minutes ago. Iran has their military proxies like Hezbollah, and Iran has their campus proxies like these groups like SJP and JVP. I mean, look at them. I mean, this is literally like a demonstration in Tehran. And you can't believe it's happening in Morningside Heights.
Actionable, I might even say.
As you know. President Shafiq.
Also, notice how he doesn't read it out. He says JVP. He purposely doesn't say. He uses the acronym purposely because he's not going to say Jewish Voice for Peace. Unfucking believable. God.
And no pushback though. No pushback. Like I honestly, like I've always said, ever since, like, every single time there's some sort of event, some sort of protest, some sort of movement, I say, you know, at least we're not reliving post 9/11 news media, where it honestly felt like anyone who was the sensible voice in saying we should not go to war, we should not invade Iraq, WMDs is a lie. It's not. There's no. It's not. They're lying to us. All those people were treated like they were fucking insane conspiracy theorists,
terrorists,
and they were given.
terrorists.
They're terrorists, and they were given no voice in any cable news, conversations, the media.
Oh, that was real cancel culture.
It was all.
They took down the Dixie Chicks. The Dixie Chicks.
But ever since then, I've said, you know, whatever happens, it'll never be that bad again, because, you know, they just can't do that anymore. We've gotten to the point. Social media is too strong for it. And I mean, I guess because social media still exists and we're able to have this conversation right here on YouTube and on Twitch or whatever, I guess it's still not as bad as then, where we couldn't be doing this. But this is honestly the closest I felt it get to. Like right now, this moment
all
is
the time,
truly the closest I've felt it get to that point. And it's alarming. To take a line from Elon Musk, it's concerning. I mean, it is
looking into it.
It is insane. It is insane. It is absolutely insane. And like,
it's the upside down. You're always being told the opposite of what is actually happening. You always witness these headlines where you're like, that's not true though. That's like, again, they discovered all these bodies there. This is fucked. So fucked. I don't know. I think that's what's causing a lot of the disconnect between a lot of people. Like, you know, just right out of the gates where David's like, fucking, you know, that's the most energetic I think I've seen David Doel out of the intro of a show. But it's true. That's how everyone's been feeling. Like, what the fuck? What the fuck?
Right.
What the fuck? All day. What the fuck?
No, that's me constantly.
Like,
here's the thing, though. This will continue to happen because there's been no mea culpa from the Iraq war and the lies that happened there.
That's why Frum is still on television. Yeah, David Frum still on television.
There's
still seen as a voice you have to respect.
We have never.
We don't try war criminals.
We have never truly dealt with the immense Islamophobia that came out of that era and still exists, honestly. But we've never had that moment of, this is wrong. This was wrong. What were we doing? There's been no looking back and coming to terms and saying this person should not be given a microphone because they did this and they knew they were doing this. And because of what they spoke out about, it led to this, this, and that, and people are dead. Until that happens, these same people will be on TV until they die. And then I guess we'll get their kids, their Nepo babies, to just continue their legacy like we're already seeing, honestly. Like that fucking kid, the kid of...
No, I'm just saying that's such an important point because, like, at the end of the day, like, all of us, we're not the people who post 9/11. Like, one of my best friends, his family is Sikh, and every single time we went to the U.S., every time we crossed the border, random security check. Oh, you're brown. Oh, you're definitely going to be a terrorist. That culture, that atmosphere, no one was held accountable for spreading that nonsense that every single Muslim, every single brown person, every single Arab, they're terrorists. They're potential terrorists, at least at the very end. We should treat them as potential terrorists. That never went away. Like, that's your bigger point, right? The post 9/11 climate that everyone's like, don't fall into the traps of 9/11 again. We didn't learn anything. How do we fall back into the same traps we didn't take ourselves out of? Is more the bigger point, right? We're still in that shit.
Yeah.
People still haven't unpacked any part of that.
Yeah, like
Right.
explicit
you say
racism
something-
was actually promoted on mainstream media. Like I don't think people who are young understand it was explicit racism. And like the white people were being accused of being terrorist sympathizers. So like every single brown
Well, they
person was
stood up
just
for
thought
it.
yeah, they were just thought to be a terror. Like it was so explicit. Like if you could find clips of the post 9/11 era, it will blow your fucking mind. As bad as it is today, it's just it was wild.
I honestly, again, if it wasn't for social media, I think we're right there again. I don't think there's
Yeah.
any change. The cable news is exactly the fucking same. There's absolutely no difference. This is the same conversations happening on every friggin' cable news show, on every news talk show, period. No change, no difference. You see someone wearing some sort of Islamic religious garb, you fucking see, they'll talk down about them. Doesn't fucking matter. The assumption, even from progressives, that Muslim women are like being forced upon this here when they live in the United States, and it's not their choice to wear it, even when they're out there saying, "This is my religion. I'm wearing this because I want to wear it."
Unpack so much of that. So much of that. So much of posts like what is it? The new atheist movement, where I was like, "Oh, women are being forced to wear hijabs against their will," and all this kind of stuff. And then like you actually listen to interviews where it's like, "This actually brings me closer to God. This is about my relationship with God. I shouldn't be forced to dress a certain way." And then you're like, "Oh shit!" So I was still doing the impression. Didn't even unpack that part of it. Fucked up. Crazy. Yeah.
And there's no powerful interest behind, and there shouldn't be that for anybody, but the fact of the matter is there are powerful interests for everybody, except honestly in this country, at least it seems like, for Arab people, Middle Eastern people, Muslim people. There's no like, well, we're like, how many Muslim people are even in Congress? What, 2? Right?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
There's no voice for them. And it's been okay for decades now just to say whatever the fuck you want about them, and it's just it's just wiped away, brushed aside, in a way that I'm not saying everything's hunky-dory for everybody else, but saying something explicitly racist or anti-Semitic would probably get you fired from most jobs. In a way I just don't think would happen for, if you were to say, that person's wearing a turban, which isn't even Islamic, but that person's wearing a turban, I'm scared that person's might be a terrorist. It wouldn't even be a blip. Wouldn't be a blip.
Mm-hmm.
Which is crazy racist to think, right? Just to be like, if you see something, say something. I'm just like, I was at an airport, I was a little worried. I don't know, that they had a suitcase and they were wearing a turban. So I had to say something. That's fucked up. That's weird. That it's just like, that's normalized. We're just like, yeah, that they could be terrorists. There could be a bomb in there. They want to murder everybody here because of Islam. Yeah.
It shows how deeply brainwashed society was during that time.
Yeah.
When they talk about, there's anti-Semitic imagery or anti-Semitic slogans on campus at these protests, and you go, what are you talking about? And what do you hear? Oh, they're waving the Palestinian flag, and that makes me uncomfortable. The Palestinian flag, their identity, what they use to represent themselves as a people, their very being, makes me feel uncomfortable. Oh,
their existence.
We need to do something about that, because we can't have these very important students feel uncomfortable because they're pro-Israel, right? They can't feel uncomfortable on their campus. Doesn't matter if it was the other way around. Those students, it's free speech, baby. You just gotta suck it up, Buttercup. I mean, we see this right now with all the right wingers who are talking big shit. You guys were bringing it up before about how, what was it in University of Austin, right? I think you guys brought it up. They literally put out a video 6 months ago about how anyone could come on campus, even if you don't go to the school, even if you're not a student. This is a free speech zone. You could come on campus and freely talk about whatever you'd like. And of course, when they say this, they're talking about the right wingers and white supremacists and conspiracy theorists who have a right to go on there and say 6 million really didn't die in the Holocaust. That's legitimate speech if it's coming from a white supremacist. Maybe he's got a KKK hood on. Maybe he's carrying the Confederate flag. It's free speech, though. We have to accept that. It's free speech. But now they've changed that rule because pro-Palestine students are out there criticizing Israel. That's not free speech anymore. Now they put out a rule. You can't come onto campus.
I've never seen a police response in any way like similar. I've never seen Nazis
No.
in Texas get fucking trampled by the cops like this because they're on a highway just being like, whites only, shit like that. And you're like, I don't see fucking cops swarm in and trample. I would be like, oh shit, I disagree with the rest of the left. ACAB, fuck all of y'all. This is crazy. Like,
cops
you don't see that shit. Yeah.
Cops want to swarm them, Lance, but they're resisting the urge to swarm and join the protest. That's
right.
The thing.
That's part of it too. You're
like, if we go there, I know I'm just going to start waving some flags, so I'm going to resist.
I mean, it's pretty clear that the cops love this shit. Like, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Like, they look forward to cracking
some
down
of them.
these
Come
left-wing
on,
protests.
not
Please.
the
way they brutalize these protesters in a way that they don't brutalize, like we were
Nazis.
You just mentioned. Right.
Mm-hmm.
This is the video, by the way, that was delisted that you're talking about. University of Texas, which mass arrested protesters, has a video promoting free speech, saying that anybody from the public can come to campus and engage in protest. And they delisted the video and turned off the comments.
Delisted.
Wow.
It's incredible. Let's watch at least
Free Speech Week.
Why can members of the public come to campus at any time and engage in demonstrations and speeches? So state law in Texas actually allows members of the public, just like our university community, to come onto campus and use our common outdoor areas for speech activity. I think that surprises a lot of students. They show up here and they think, who is this random stranger setting up a table talking about a thing I find upsetting? But that's protected by state law.
Can you pause
and members of the public, just like
Damn.
Sorry, students, if you find this upsetting to listen to. This guy, this weirdo who's come onto your campus, handing out pamphlets about how if you're LGBTQ, you're going to hell. I'm sorry if that's uncomfortable. That's free speech. Oh, wait. Stop the bombing of the Israeli airstrikes in Gaza. Get the fuck out of here. Like, that's literally the smirk.
Yeah.
You know exactly what she's talking about.
Oh yeah, you know what's on her mind when she's saying this.
Some kids, some snowflakes are worried about the weirdo over there with bringing his table with paraphernalia. You know exactly the type of people she's talking about, and she's backing them up and saying they have every right to be there. But then, of course, we know who doesn't have a right to be there as of today.
Yeah, and it's not like this hypocrisy is new, by the way, because Texas is one of 38 states that has anti-BDS laws. So they were already hypocritical. Like, this whole free speech facade, it's bullshit. It's free speech for me, but not thee, right? So, yeah.
University community can use our common outdoor areas. Now, it isn't a free-for-all. So when you say why can they come at any time? There's some nuance there. It's subject to
They could
our
come,
university rules
Israeli
that are permitted
time,
under
not
the law.
Palestinian time. That's the time.
Interesting.
Palestinian time, not allowed. Israeli time, IDF time, Zionist time,
Anti-gay
white
time?
supremacist time,
Yeah.
Confederacy time, Proud Boy time, QAnon time, MAGA
definitely
time. I could keep going on. KKK
Steven
time.
Crowder time.
Stephen Crowder time, anti-choice time.
Ben Shapiro time.
Those are the hours you could come onto campus. Palestinian time.
Too much moisture. Wow.
We're closed. We're closed during the hours of Gaza to the West Bank.
I am a Holocaust survivor. I do not deserve.
Listen to all those anti-Semites
Semites, right?
yelling at that Holocaust survivor, shouting her down. You heard that she tried to talk, and they yelled. They yelled. All those
They cheered for her, and she said, "Don't
They
cheer
cheered for her when she was like, I don't want to applaud. I'm like, anti-Semites.
I do not deserve applause. I am here because I experienced as a child every single thing that a child is experiencing on a daily basis, including the loss of my family, including war, firebombing, and you name it. It pleases me to no end to see that you are here. I take courage and inspiration from you to keep going. I'm 88 years old. I am a civil rights activist. When I came to America as an almost 17-year-old in New York City, I discovered America. I discovered the racism, and I became an activist against war, justice, and I'm here as a peace activist. We need to bring this to an end. There is no excuse for the slaughter of 15,000 children and untold others.
Anti-Semitic
We
rally.
have to act with peace and love. And I am proud to be here with you, and I hope you will continue. We are on the side of justice and peace.
How much did Hezbollah pay this lady to show up?
Yeah, that's definitely.
That's amazing. 88
Yeah,
years old.
MS-13.
Wow. Oh my god.
Yeah.
The media would watch that and unironically call her anti-Semitic or pro-Hamas.
Oh, of course.
Why,
You see her
would
pro-Hamas
why would-
speech?
If
How
you
dare
actually,
she?
if you
Yeah.
actually are the part of a news media organization, why aren't you having this lady on to talk? This seems newsworthy, right?
True.
These
Yeah.
protests we're
Holocaust
hearing
survivor.
all
Yeah.
these things about. Why is this 88-year-old Holocaust survivor going and talking to them? What? Maybe we should get her opinion on this matter to see what a 88-year-old Holocaust survivor thinks of these protests, instead of just any old fucking random New York op-ed writer schmuck. But no,
Yeah.
they don't have this lady on. They don't have this lifelong civil rights activist, Holocaust survivor on their shows. Of course not.
Yeah.
I mean,
That
if
would
they
make too
really
much
want to,
sense.
the goal is to turn the public against these college students. So, and if they really want to do that, if they're really that anti-Semitic, just stick cameras in their faces, let them spew their anti-Semitism. Wait, they're not doing that though, because the media knows that they're not actually anti-Semitic, right? Like this isn't a hate group. This is about stopping genocide.
How many pro-Hamas videos did this 88-year-old spring chicken see on TikTok? That's my question.
How many minutes was she radicalized? Are you saying we got to
Shows just how powerful China is.
Yeah. 1 minute on TikTok is all it takes.
Alpha male, not a beta male.